I guess after working on this for 8 or 9 years, it seems like from my reading, that the idea of flying around and talking to people and not sitting in a dark room working on this must be kind of appealing.
Yeah, it is. Especially talking about a film that's finished after you've been working on it that long.
Yeah.
It's satisfying.
And how do you maintain your enthusiasm over the course of that amount of time for one story? Or do you have a number of things that you're working on at any given time to kind of keep it fresh?
There are a number of vague ideas out there, but you'd never... they don't become complete until you have the time to devote to working on them. And
right.
That's part of what, animation takes so long partially because everything on the screen is something we had to make up. Mm-hmm. So, you just can't take a camera out there and shoot things that are already there. You have to make it up. So what keeps you going is, some days it's the big ideas, it's just the writing, it's the thrill of coming up with new ideas or imagining the potential of what something could be. And some days it's just the geeky, oh, look, we made this thing, look how it moves, and oh, that'll be cool when it's done. Just every day there's something to wake up and look forward to, because yesterday you were thinking of all this stuff, and today you're going to see some of the results of it. It's very, very easy to stay inspired.
I guess it's one of those, look, the water. We made water, and it looks real.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Because water's tough, right? Water, fur, I hear.
Look, I come from the days where we used to go to graphics conventions, and someone would show a movie of a pool ball on the table, and the camera would rotate around it, and people would stand up and cheer. So it doesn't take much to get me going. Actually, it takes a lot, but little things every day keep you interested.
So how has it changed? This is such a big question. We probably spend all our time. But you worked on Tron, the original Tron. Cut to many years later.
Uh-huh.
Now we're at Epic, and are they two completely different processes? That movie to this movie.
Yes.
Or is it? It is. It's
Absolutely.
not just an expanded
No.
version.
In the beginning, the technology was a huge impediment.
Right.
You could only do the things that it could do, and you were always trying to push its boundaries. So the creative challenges there were to get anything out of the computer, and every time you did anything, like I said, people cheered because it was the first time anyone had done it.
Well, I remember seeing Tron in the theater, and I was like, "Oh man, this is the pinnacle of what can be done on this." And you watch it now, and it because our eye is so much more attuned to these kind of things now, it looks much different now too.
Of course it does, but it fits in that world where he was expanding on what it would be like to play one of these arcade games, and the arcade games were little blips, and you go in and now it's dimensional. I think it's a more successful conceit than the sequel to it, because we can already do everything in computers. You don't. It's not going to look much different to go in and play whatever you play in the computers now. But so back then it was so hard to do anything. You cheered when you did anything. Right. Now the challenge is completely flipped, because the machines can do anything. The technology every year just gets the tools get better, and the computers get faster and cheaper, more powerful, and so now the challenge is it's you as a storyteller to come up with the ideas that are going to entertain, and it's really very close to completely mature.
Well, it's interesting because, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but it strikes me that it's maybe possibly what it was like during the heyday of hand-drawn animation, where you had these, the 7 old men at Walt Disney who were geniuses and could draw anything. And so, it wasn't so much finding the visual as it was, which is a big part of it, but telling the story.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot like those days, because you're telling stories with pictures. So the stories we tell tend to be more visually arresting. Mm-hmm. That's my philosophy anyway. It's animation. Why use it if it's not to show something you can't see any other way? And why not use those pictures to tell the story as much as you can? The thing about and animation filmmaking, it's always been about technology. This is just the evolution, if you ask me, of cell animation. That was digital. Yeah. This is digital, a different way, but the difference, I think, is that this technology is going to push us beyond making pictures, but it's going to affect our experience of movies and our interaction with them.
In what way?
I just picture, look, this is just me
Yeah.
philosophizing, and I don't think it's a difficult stretch to say that, you know, imaging technology is going to become more and more convincingly like the way you and I are experiencing reality right now.
Right.
You know, it's going to become that tactile, that real. And I you know, when people say, "Oh, I miss film," I'm like, really? You mean fuzzy and out of focus? I mean, the color's beautiful and, you know, great, but I don't miss it at all because all we ever did was output to film. We never, made our movies that way. But, you know, now they're saying 3D, it's hard to look at, but sometimes it's really good. You think that 3D is going to go away? No. It's going to be in your house.
Yeah.
It's going to be on your phone, you know. I think probably, and the computers can keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
The reason there's not so much 2D animation anymore is because there's only one way to do it. Hire a lot of people and have them work for a long time.
And spend a ton of money.
And spend a ton of money, and you can make this much movie.
Yeah.
That's just finite. With a computer, they get more powerful, they can help more, and the movies get bigger. We don't spend that much more money, probably less money on this movie, you know, adjusted, than we did on Ice Age 3.
Really?
Yeah, we just keep the budgets because the
And the
we
computers
don't hire
are
more
getting
people.
cheaper,
Just, you know, there's a careful control of it. Maybe too careful at points, but I think also there will be an interactive component to animation in the future.
Well, it's coming. I think that all movies are going to go back to what the movie experience used to be in the maybe 20s and 30s, where you saw a number of movies. Movies weren't necessarily 90 minutes long. That came in much later. You know, they might be an hour long, as long as it takes to tell the story. Maybe you'd see two of them, or there'd be a short and a movie. I think things are going to change in order to keep audiences coming, and just as people explore storytelling in different ways, I think that sort of everything old is going to become new again.
I think it never got that old. I mean, people, you know, yes, things will get more interactive, but will storytelling go away? No. People have been sitting around campfires forever.
Yeah.
Man, I had a long day. I just want that guy to tell me a story. I want to imagine his perspective. That's what stories are, you know. They're like, here's the way I see it. I'm going to put an image in your head. I don't see that going away ever.
When you first started working on this film, I saw little flashes as I was watching of maybe Alice in Wonderland and all sorts of things. Were there other touchstones, other stories for you that were very important in your overall concept?
I wasn't trying to mimic anything because these stories evolve in a very organic way.
I'm not suggesting mimicking. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, but I'll tell you what I do actively do. I try to avoid other stories.
Right.
And, you know, the more animation is out there, the more little landmines we have to tiptoe around. And that's part of it for me. You know, a new animation idea for me starts with a world. Doesn't start with a story. It starts with a place. Like, oh, we haven't been there before. We could do this way. And like, certainly, I wanted to make a big action movie in an ironic place. You know, that's why our title is in lowercase. You know, that it is you know, a perspective experience the audience hasn't had yet, and then you reverse engineer a story into that world. And then you reverse engineer characters into that story.
Right.
And then as you develop it, you change the characters. You take some out and replace them with somebody else, or change this guy's arc, or change the sex. And you just keep, it's like a puzzle you just keep working on. So if at the end of the day, it's like Wizard of Oz or Alice in Wonderland, I'll take any of those comparisons to movies that I love, you know?
Yeah, I was thinking if they are just those things that fire your imagination. I'm writing a book right now about Elvis Costello's first album, My Aim Is True. Fantastic record, changed my life. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Love this. And so what I found very helpful in terms of writing this book is listening to Dr. Feelgood and listening to bands that were working around the same time and looking at photographs and that sort of thing. And it just, I don't write about those things specifically, but it puts me in a frame of mind
to where his was.
where I can create what I need to get the words in the right order about this one album that I love so much.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
What influenced me, I don't know if I said it to you or not, but, I was, sorry. When Bill and I first started talking about this, we thought, well, it would be fun to make just a great swashbuckling adventure. Adventures of Robin Hood, Errol Flynn in Seahawk. Or
Captain Blood.
Captain Blood. Oh my God, what a great story! And that was the kind of what's his name, Sabatini, the guy that wrote those books.
Yeah.
It was the kind of adventure I wanted to feel like. Oh, it'd be great to just get one of those swashbuckling things in there, and so as time went by, while I was thinking about this, Gladiator came out, and the Lord of the Rings things came out. Every one of those was just bigger and bigger, and then I've been working on this with my son, who was probably 5 when he first heard me talking about this, and was about 12 when Avatar came out. I was actually in the throes of trying to get this up when Avatar came out. We went to a 3D screening. We walked out, and he goes, "Dad, that's exactly how I pictured Leaf Man to be." And I was like, "Shut up, Jack. I'll get this made one of these days." But even that was inspiring,
Yeah.
But even that, it gave me another gigantic landmine I couldn't touch,
Right.
I couldn't go... Tonally, I had to find something different. The writing had to be different. They had to speak different. They had to be... our stuff is, it's quippier.
Yeah. Well, I love, too, how the actors like Colin Farrell and Chris O'Dowd and there's others, and Christoph Waltz and different things, use all their own accents. There's no sort of standardization of, they've all got to speak in English or, American or whatever.
For a number of reasons. One is that animation takes so long, you're looking for any shred of spontaneity you can find. And you want honesty behind the mic, because if they're believing it, you're believing it. You can hear it in their voice. They don't have to try. If they feel it, you feel it. That's just the way humans communicate. The other thing is that, as part of the theme of the movie, I want you to feel as though those leaf men come from every corner of the forest.
Right.
They're black and white and green and yellow and purple and male and female. I want them as a group to feel like they're the NATO, they're the UN army, that protects the forest. And so we just let them use their accents.
Yeah, and it works well. It works very well. And I loved hearing Chris O'Dowd. I would just sit and listen to him, read the phone book. He's just just such a distinctive and entertaining voice. He was very funny in this.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good. He'll be glad to hear that.
Do you? And one last, just ask you one last quick one. You said earlier about changing the characters sort of along the way. Which comes first, the casting or the character, or
the writing? The writing, the character.
Yeah.
You get, as the movie comes into sharper focus, and it's time to start actually putting those nuances of character in there. That's what the voice actors have given you, but it's all designed. Oh my God, it's all rigged and ready to go before, because as soon as we get the voices, we cut them in and we start to animate. That just gives you that beat to beat feel.
Yeah, make sure the lips are moving in time. And
just so that it brings that character off the page and onto the screen.
Right. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you. That's a great conversation.
Yeah, pleasure to speak.
I'm looking forward to your book.
Yeah.